Hello, I'm Steve Fleming. Welcome to my studio at steveflemingartiststudio.com. Tonight we're doing a demonstration on preserving white paper in your painting using a variety of brush marks and edges in order to keep the purity of the white paper and have a nice, lively watercolor painting. The concept of leaving white paper and cutting around it is much harder for some people because they don't do it very often. So in this particular lesson, that's what we're going to be working on. So I'm just going to put down paint, and I'm going to pull the paint down to the edge of this building line. I'm going to use kind of fun colors. This is very blue, a bluish green, with a little bit of Hansa yellow, a little bit of phthalo, lemon green. Put in a little bit of new gamboge, and I'm just going to brush in some nice fun colors, take it off the top of the paper, which is always a good idea. Use the side of your brush to put the paint down with as much as you can. You're going to want to use a point once in a while, but the more you can get in the habit of using the side of your brush, the more dynamic your brush work is going to be. Bothers people because they don't think they have any control using the side of the brush, but you really do. So here I'm down to the top of this shape, and I'm just going to soften it a little bit so this piece of green comes into the white. And I'm going to go right back up top here with a little bit of olive green added to it. And I'm just going to come over the top a little bit and pull this up so it has a little bit of the shape on the other side of this roof line. Adding a little bit of new gamboge, a little bit of raw sienna, a little bit of burnt sienna. I'm bringing a little color down here, cutting around that, leaving a few little random pieces of white. Add a little bit of cobalt violet. Pull this over here. Cut right down to the top of this rock and just leave it like that. Take your brush and just pull a little bit of the edge down. And that's about all I want to do coming around this way. And I'm going to take a little bit of cobalt blue, a little bit of cobalt violet, a little bit of burnt sienna, make myself a nice little shadow color, and go a little yellow, and I'm just going to cut down here, add a little bit more violet on this side, pull it down like this, add a little bit of orange to it just to sort of perk it up. Let this come down. Soften that edge a little bit. Pull this over from here. There's a little bit of light kicking off this roof. Bring this shadow over this way. This is the light coming off of this building onto this building, which creates a nice little piece there. You've got this nice piece of white. This orange enlivens this and pushes it in front of the green. I think helps a little bit of cad scarlet, just a little bit, and pull this over like that. There you go. That's kind of nice. Bring a little of the color down. Alright, so now we've got a nice feeling of white paper. So here's a little bit more of the shadow. And if you get a little bit of too much of a tan brown color, and add a little bit of color into it. Don't rub the paint off. Just leave the color, add a little bit to it, make it a little bit more interesting. Alright, so that works much better. These little spots of orange help a lot. And if you think you're going to have a little run with the angle of your paper, then take your damp brush, come up, touch the little beads. Don't use a paper towel to do it. A paper towel actually creates a little stencil effect, lightens the shape too much, and I don't think it works as well. So the brush works a whole lot better at picking up the loose pieces of water, potential little dribbles. So now I'm going to go behind these trees using a green mix. I'm going to take it up here, add a little bit of yellow, add the yellow right on the paper, cut right around the edge of this, creating a little bit of a piece of that little chimney. Add a little bit of blue, a little bit of violet. I graze it off a little bit. And if you don't like the color, leave the color, add something to it. There you go, so there's a little bit of background trees. Take that burnt sienna piece, have a little bit of it over here, pull a little bit of that down here, let it run right into the shadow, cut down across this roof, add a little bit of green, leave a little bit of an opening, come over with a little bit of cobalt violet, keep adding color on the paper, pull that over into that shadow, pull this over into this shadow. Take your side of your brush and just pull that color over so you get a little bit of merging between these pieces. Now I've got this nice little piece of white working really well. I'm going to take a little bit of cerulean blue. I'm going to cut around these little boat shapes. Now these are not exotic shapes, these are just little triangles. So this is a little piece of sky. I'm going to do this. Bring the cerulean blue, cobalt blue, right down to the tops of these boats. Leave a little bit of white out here just for a nice little sparkly effect. Add a little bit of violet right down there. Have a little bit of these boats showing through. And I've cut around that, giving that a little bit of an interesting piece. There's a little bit of sky. If you want to add a little more sky, go right ahead and do it. Take it right up into the area of white paper. Put the color down. Take a little bit of a damp brush and just soften the edge. Soften the top of it by taking your brush upside like that, running along, pull a little bit of the blue through here, and it gives you a little piece of sky. You don't always have to have a completely blended piece of blue paper to say sky. You have a much more interesting piece of white and movement. Now I'm going to head back over to here and finish these rocks, cutting around some white paper. Using a little bit of ultramarine blue into this, not making a gray, just making a little bit less of a vibrant burnt sienna. Add a little bit of violet into it, a little bit of alizarin crimson. And just sort of come down, cutting around this little piece of white. Change the color a little bit, add a little bit of green. And the foreground's got a little bit of weeds in it. Again, you've got this nice piece of white paper. Soften the edge a little bit with the brush, pull it across. You've got this nice piece of white moving across there. So when we're done, we're just going to have a lot of nice, crisp, white pieces of paper with a nice variety of edge, which is the goal. The goal is always to have nice variety of edge. And the variety of edge is textured, blended, and hard. I'll show you the hard. Hard like that. That's a hard edge, textured edge, blended edge. Those are the types of edges you can use. You want to make sure that across your painting you're always thinking about a variety of edge. If you're doing that, you'll find that your shapes have a much better integration into the other shapes in the painting. Just want to go up and down, creating the feeling of some of these random little poles. I'm not painting every pole, and I'm just giving a feeling of some, leaving a few little openings in them. So I get this little piece of dark. Works really well. Pull a little bit of it above. Have a little bit of interest at the end. Try not to just get it all real dark brown. Have a little bit of variety in color. There you go. Pull a few little side ones this way. A little bit of cross bracing. Pull a little bit of it up. We've got this nice piece of white. Now I've just reversed it and had dark on the top, white in the pole inside the dock. So there's basically at the moment the white paper. Now I'm going to come down here. I'm going to take a little blue, add a little bit of olive green in it, and I'm just going to cut around these little pieces of white, which are the sails. this for the foreground. A little bit of green in it. And a little bit of water. So here we are. We now have all this white paper. We have all of this middle value. And we have to come back into this and create a little bit of form. Test it with the back of your hand to see how the paper's drying. If it's a little bit damp, it's probably still a little bit wet. Put in a little bit of that. It's a little bit of a window. So I'm going to pull a little bit of windows here. Put in this little bit of a feeling of a chimney and a little bit of a shadow. Put in a little piece of yellow back here to sort of say one of these boats has a little color on it. Not going to get too crazy. Have a little bit of dark up here in the tree just to create a little bit more form. And I don't really want to make this painting too complicated, but I would like to at least have the lesson be stated, and the statement of this lesson is to have a piece of white paper, cutting around white paper, leaving white paper, and then putting in a few little selective details to make the pieces of white paper ring. And so you come in, you put in a few little darks, and I just want you to do something simple like this. I don't want you to get too crazy, just like this. And I think you'll have fun if you can get used to using your wide brush, creating pieces of white, and you can come back now and put in all the details you want, but basically this is what I want you to do, is just practice using nice cut out pieces of white paper. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like me on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Fleming Artist. Next week I'm going to be doing another demonstration, so check back weekly. Remember to like me. Thank you for visiting. Good night.